Hi folks, welcome to the Man Cave and welcome to a series of videos I've called Handy Hints and Tips for your BMW R1250 GS / GSA. So if like me you're not really into reading instruction manuals, stick around and hopefully by the end of the video you'll have a little bit more information about how to use certain things on your R1250 GS. So hopefully this is going to be helpful for people who've just ordered a BMW and they're new to the BMW family, or you're looking at taking one out for a test ride and you want to know a little bit more about the bike before you go out to the dealer and take one out for a ride. So what are we talking about today? Well, today, hopefully keep it very simple. We're talking about the information displayed to the rider on the home screen of the TFT, that information that sits just above the rev counter. So stick around and hopefully by the end of the video, you know exactly what it can do and what it can't do. So let's jump straight into it. Okay, let's turn the TFT screen on and I've got the keyless ride. So it's going to go through its startup procedure. All looks very nice. And we're now at the home screen, or as BMW like to call it, they call it the pure ride view. But folks, I'm just going to call it the home screen. So here we are then. So we're at the home screen and this is the information we're talking about. We've got the status line information on the left here above the rev counter, and then the rider mode information on the right hand side. So we're going to be talking about the status line information, and the first thing I'm going to say to you is I like to keep things simple. So I just cut up a cardboard tube and basically this is what it does. So it has 14 bits of information that are displayed to you, and 13 bits of that information are customizable, which we'll do very shortly. At the moment I've got all the information selected which will be displayed on that status line. So there is one thing that you cannot change, and that is the tank range, and I'm going to call that information number 14, and then we've got 13 other bits of information. And then basically you're just going to scroll through, move the cardboard tube round 14 times until we get back to where we started, and in this case on the tube it's got 14. How do we scroll it around one? We just press the menu button on here on the top. So there we go, press the menu button and then it goes through all the bits of information on that status line that we have got pre-selected through the menu. So the only thing you cannot do is if you've gone too far, you cannot go back one. You have to go all the way through back to the information that you want. So here we go, we're at tank range, which is information piece number 14, and this is the tank range here, and that basically says how much fuel you got until the bike engine stops and you've got to push the bike. So that information is always there. Even if you deselect the other 13 bits of information, that information piece number 14, as I call it, that will always be there regardless. You cannot get rid of it. So how do we then change those bits of information that we want to be displayed? Because I really don't want all those other 13 bits of information be displayed. So let's go into the menu and we'll show you how we do it. So I think we can dispense with this cardboard tube, and I hope that's been of interest to you and benefit. Keep it simple, folks. Okay, so how do we then dive into the menu settings to then change the status line? So firstly, to go into the settings menu, the bike has to be stationary. The engine can be off or running, but it has to be stationary. So how do we access the menus? With the menu button on the left hand side, and then you can see here on the TFT screen on the home page there's an arrow or a V pointing downwards and the corresponding display on the bottom of the menu button. So that tells me there's something else down here. So let's go down one, and then you can see we're in the settings menu, and if we wanted to go into other menus then you use the wizard wheel on the left just to access them. But I don't want to use any of those. I just want to go into the settings menu, and it says there's some more information below. So let's press the bottom of the menu button, and then that takes us into the settings menu, and we have several options there as you can see on the screen. So what we want to do is go into display. So we need to highlight that with the wizard wheel. So let's just rotate that until we highlight display. Very simple. And then we need to go to the right hand side. They're saying there's some more information to the right. How do we access that? Wizard wheel to the right, and that takes us into the display menu, and lo and behold we're here. We can now see the status line content. So how do we highlight that? Wizard wheel down one, there we go, status line content. How do we then go into that? It's got an arrow to the right, that's a wizard wheel to the right, and there we go folks, status line content. So at the moment I've got all this bit of information selected on the status line, and to be honest, I don't need any of that. I only need 3 bits of information on there. So let's customize that, because that's what I use all the time. So I'm going to keep the tyre pressure information selected, so there's a tick in that box already. So as we go up, I'm just going to de-tick all the stuff that I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of speed 2, so whizzy wheel to the right will switch it off, and which will get rid of the arrow, and let's just do the rest for everything else that I don't want with the whizzy wheel and confirming it to the right. I don't need any of that because it's pointless for me, but you may need it, so just go through it and see what you want. Total distance, that's how many miles the bike has done. So I'm going to keep that on there. Fuel tank level is the sort of the pictorial display of your tank contents. I'll keep that one there as well. And that is it. So how do we then get back to the home screen? If you find yourself, deep diving into the menus and you've got lost, all you have to do is a long press, about 2 seconds, on the top of the menu button, and wherever you are, that will take you back to the home screen, wherever you are. So there we go. So we're back at the home screen now, and there's the status line information. So we're still showing the range till we're empty, and then if we then scroll through the status line with the top of the menu button, you can see we've got the fuel level, we've got the total mileage, and then we've got the tyre pressure monitoring front and rear. But as the bike's not moving, it won't show those at the moment. And then the 4th press takes us back to the range till we're empty. Go in there and customize it, because you do not need those 14 bits of information. And just remember, a single press just moves you on one, and you can't go back. You've got to go all the way to where you want to go. Just remember, as a cardboard tube, the tank range is always there. That's information piece number 14, and then a single press on the top of the menu button will move that tube forward one. And just remember, you can't go back. You've got to go all the way around again. So that's why it's best to customize anything that you want in there, because otherwise you've got to press the button 14 times to get back to where you want to go if you've gone too far. So let's talk about the rider mode now, and that is pretty simple as well. The rider modes are displayed to you, the rider, in the top right hand corner on the home screen. So how many riding modes are there? Well, in this case I have 7 on this bike, and the maximum number of modes that you can pre-select, i.e. waiting in the background for you to scroll through, are 4, and the minimum number of pre-selected are 2 riding modes. What are these riding modes? What do they do? Well, basically these are modes which affect the suspension and the throttle settings, and they have been determined by the men in white coats at BMW. And how do we then change one mode to the next mode, etc.? Well, the giveaway is the mode button on the right hand side here. So if we just press the mode button, you can see that we can scroll through 4 in our case, because that's what I've got it set at, to a maximum of 4 predetermined riding modes. And you can see the little orange circle just scrolling from left to right as I press the mode button. So if I then want to change to road, there we go, I stop at road, and then it will accept the road mode. That's it will accept the road mode, and that's shown by it then dropping in to the right hand side of the TFT. So what about if you're riding along? It's all very well doing it whilst we're stationary. Basically the throttle has got to be closed, so you can press the mode button, you can bring up the next mode that you want to select. So let's go back to Dynamic Pro, and then it won't accept that until you close the throttle, and then once it's accepted it, you'll see it then go to the top right hand corner as it has now. So how do we change the pre-selected riding modes? Very simply, we need to go into the menu. So let's go into the menu. So press the bottom of the menu button, and then we go to settings. We then go down from settings to vehicle settings, and you can see again information to the right. So we want to go vehicle settings to the right with the whizzer wheel, and then scroll down to driving mode pre-selection. So roll the whizzer wheel down, highlight the driving modes pre-selection, and then there's an arrow to the right. Oops, and then highlight that, and then there we go, we're in the driving mode pre-selection. So you can see on the left hand side I've got 4 ticks in the boxes, and that is the maximum number of pre-selected riding modes that I can choose. So just scrolling up and down with the whizzer wheel. So if I then go to choose a 5th mode, let's have a look, it won't let me. So there we go, the 5th mode, it won't let me. It says action not possible, maximum number reached. So there we go, you can only have a maximum of 4 pre-selected riding modes. So let's try and get it down to one mode. So let's get rid of eco. Oops. So let's get rid of eco. To the right is off, and then let's try and get rid of road. Yeah, it'll take that. And let's try and get rid of dynamic to just leave us with dynamic pro, and you can see it's greyed out already, and there's no option to switch it off. And it says if I try to do it with the whizzer wheel to the right, actually not possible, minimum number has been reached. So there we go. So I can have dynamic and dynamic pro, or in fact let's select road and dynamic. So scroll down, let's get rid of dynamic pro, to the right for off with the whizzer wheel. So that's the minimum number of pre-selected modes that I can have. So let's get back to the home screen. Wherever you are in the settings, just a long press, about 2 seconds on the top of the menu button. That takes us back to the home screen. And then on the top right here, we're in road mode at the moment. So we're riding along. We're going to select, we're now only going to have 2 pre-selected modes available. So if we press the mode button, there we go. We've only got 2 dots there. So road and dynamic. And you need to make sure the throttle is closed before it accepts and then drops the pre-selected mode into the top right hand corner. So in my case, I like to have dynamic pro for the twisty bits, and then just road mode if I want the suspension to just soften off a little bit. So I'm going to do that now. So let's go into menu settings, quickly scroll down to vehicle settings, whizzer wheel to the right, driver mode pre-selection, and let's go for, I like road mode. So that's already highlighted and ticked. And let's go down to dynamic pro. To the right is on, and dynamic, let's switch that off. They're pretty much similar actually. So that's all I like to do, is just have those 2 selected. Rain mode, if it's lashing it down with rain, I might pre-select that in the settings menu. But let's go back to the home screen, press the top of the menu button, back to the home screen. So if I'm riding along and we come to a nice twisty bit, so rather than just have 4 pre-selected modes up and having to look down and scroll through the 4 of them, I know, but just by pressing the button once with the throttle closed, that I'm straight into dynamic. So I don't even have to have a look at it basically. So that's how I ride with it in road and dynamic pro. So further to the dynamic pro mode, you also have an enduro pro mode, and no, it's nothing to do with your riding ability. You don't have to be a professional rider to use those pro modes. Basically, the boffins at BMW, rather than just allow you to use the settings that they've come up with in their weeks and months of analysing stuff and coming up with the eco mode, road mode, rain mode and dynamic mode where you can't change anything, they've given you an extra modes called the pro mode. So they are programmable modes, so you can go into them, and if you're a reasonable sort of rider, advanced rider, you can just adjust a few settings in there to suit your riding style. So that's the reason why they've got the pro modes. Well, that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any comments to make them down below. As ever, ride safe. Hope you've enjoyed the handy hints and tips video, and we'll see you again soon in the next one. Take care for now, and cheerio.